so you can come. Yeah, come.
Okay, thank you. My name is John Dogbe from Vic. What is your maybe your priority or your plan, Mauli Secondary School, in terms of STEM? Thank you.
Yeah. Next question.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Emmanuel Ayete, Teen School. In your submission, you did have a package for the cost involved, and then you did say that you also provide the hardware. My question is, one, the hardware that you provide, when those who have signed on pays, does the hardware becomes the school's property? Is it for their keeps so that they'll keep reusing and using? Or, yes. No. When a school signs on and they pay the $15 per semester or per the term, the hardware that you bring to work with the students, does it become the school's property, or you take it back? It's fine. Great. Then the second one, if there is a school that is already into STEM education as well, but then want to look at you from a capacity building perspective, where they would like to engage you to build the capacity of their staff. Do you have a project like that? Do you have a model like that for schools who are into that? Thank you.
All right, thank you. My name is Benson, and I'm coming from God's Garden Montessori School. So the man who asked the question earlier on asked one of my questions. That is to say that when we sign up for your program, is there a way that you train the teachers in the school so that they take up the training of the learners as well? And that is not the case. How do you do your training? Do you have a team who come to the school? How many times do they come, and how do they do it? Thank you.
I'll just take these questions, right? Some of which are of course related, and then we can continue from there. Let me start from the last one. Okay, so basically that is talking about training the teachers who work at the schools that potentially want to work with us or have signed with us. We have the model we have in place allows for the school that we are dealing with to bring up the idea. Okay, so we not impose it on you. Okay, we'll suggest, well, if you have your teachers and you want us to train them so they can train the kids, so that we only need to provide the hardware and the access fee. It's absolutely yes. That's in our model. With a few people early on that, from my experience over this 2 years of working, has been that some school owners would say, okay, well, some teachers would leverage this training for their own personal benefit, right? So they get trained, they have this STEM, right? And they're like, well, I can create my own, and they leave them. So that's potential risk. So some of these concerns, they're like, okay, you guys bring your trainers. So we have our trainers. So that's part of the question you asked about whether we have our own trainers and how we deploy. Yes, we do have our own trainers, and we deploy to various places, schools, to go and teach and deliver the content. They carry the hardware with them because the hardware belongs to us, because we are investing in that so we can make this accessible to everyone. Once they are done, they bring the hardware back. So my response to this, again, I'm going to introduce one more element, which will then address a question which someone asked. So that's the cost of accessing that. The hardware cost is totally separate. Okay, and so that's kind of what we're encouraging you to buy. And the example I gave, for instance, with the drone, right? The cost of a drone around $60 US dollars to definitely below 100, depending on the model. A very simple one. It can go higher depending on the model, right? If you have 6 students working as a team and you just buy one of that to train 6 of the students, I think that's a good model to work with. So this would be my appeal to you, right? To try to find clever ways of trying to take advantage of this opportunity to make this work. There was a bit of a question. I guess the sense that we all get from this, this is a very selfish question, right? I'm a Maulian, and thank you for the praise and thank you for kind words. The goal we have here is to make STEM accessible to everyone, right? So when we are looking at interventions and things that really help, we are looking at the entire country, how we want to bring STEM to the doorstep of the average African kid. And this is not only for Ghanaians, by the way. I mentioned that we are launching Nigeria and Uganda at the early stage, and that's not the end. We're going to keep going until we conquer all of Africa. And as I'm speaking to you, there are discussions with some partners even in Pakistan and potentially India. I've not even discussed with the Kodabo Founder yet. Right, so we're going even way beyond Africa. We're going to really disadvantaged communities and areas or economies that are not as developed as the developed nations that are models, often models for us. So that would be my to that. We are working with everyone, and Mauli School definitely is my school. I'm happy to drop by, and then we can have discussions about how we can bring it there as well. And I'll do the same for others as well who make a request. Yeah. Thank you. So we'll take more questions. Yeah.
I think I stand here so that if we disagree, you'll pick me up. Anyway, I believe just now a couple of gentlemen talk about in-school program and training the trainers. And this is, I dare say this is something that every school across borders, that's what they think about. They talk about sustainability. I have some schools in Hong Kong that says, well, my headmaster said this. From now onwards, when we pay for something, the property belongs to us, so that we can reuse it again. For example, Dr. Abdi just now talked about hardware. So when we talk about the space technology, the curriculum, right, that we sell to the school, we offer our knowledge, right? We look for assets that normally you wouldn't even know where to look for, and we will get it for you. And in that hardware, the school will obviously are cost conscious. They will say, well, how much of these are reusable and how much of these are consumable? That means you throw it away, right? And how much of these are reusable? That means the next year they can reuse again. That's the question that every school, I know that you ask the same thing because we all face the same problem, right? Then the second thing is that after you talk about reusable and consumable, then you talk about what can I do to train the teacher so that next year the teacher will teach. Every school's dream is for them to be self-sufficient. That is for sure. Yes, and we accept this challenge. We accept this as part and parcel of our business model, because eventually a happy customer means that we are also successful. But that also means that we will continually innovate. We will continue to innovate so that we are not redundant. Yes, we are no longer we are not redundant, right? So we come up with new product, right? And also, from what I learned from headmasters and people like you all, is this: they say that in class curriculum is a very broad. That means you have A students and not so good students. Yes? So when you guys provide that curriculum, we have to modify it in such a way that it appeal to a cross-board thing, right? Okay? Spectrum of students, right? But what they tell me is this: how about, okay, you guys offer, well, here I think you guys use the word club, right? Okay, for a club, a pull-up course, a pull-out course, right? So if I were to offer you a general course, and then we train your teachers, and then your teachers can then continue to use that for a few years. We then offer your special student. They call it the smart student, right? You pull out certain smart students and we teach them. Example, game design. In game design, it's very difficult to offer a game design to across the spectrum of students, because some they'll go to sleep when you teach them this kind of coding. But then there are some I have seen in my school, girls, she purposely cancel her swimming club or whatever just to attend the game design, and she's only interested in coding for Unity game design. So I'm sure there are such things. So that's where we continue to survive. Yeah? I'm sure you all don't want us to be out of job, right? After we have trained you guys and suddenly we are out of job. No. We work together, hand in hand. We provide the in-class teachers training program for you all. And then every year we provide you hardware. Then we have this challenge to continue to innovate. You saw we plan to come up with an robotic AI, right? Yeah, so we will innovate. We will continue to innovate so that you will find our product something that you want to give to your students. But for the regular class, why don't we teach you? Why don't we provide you that courses? But your special students, let us train your special students. Let us teach them extra stuff. And in that way, I think it's the perfect combination. A perfect combination, because all of us are cost conscious, all of us consider price. You have to convince your boss, your shareholders, you have to think about all these things. I understand that. And I hope Albert Kwame Mensah here will come up with very good strategy to just partner with you all. Okay? Now, for that brother that talks about mathematics. Okay. STEM is not a maths class. STEM is not a science class. STEM is an application across discipline. Yes? And again, I always talk about how difficult it is to make a complex problem simple. It's all our dream, right? A complex, that's why we have ChatGPT. So we just call our good friend Paul and he will tell us all kind of stuff, right? So, but say for example, kinematics, robotic arm. You saw our robotic arm, right? So, come here. All right. So, in kinematics, you talk about motion. Yes? I think he told me some of the students love it so much where you have that robotic arm picking up something from one area to another, right? Then you have to measure. So the arm have to measure how far it is that he has to stretch to pick up something. And that is mathematics. But I think Form 3 student will never be able to calculate that. Yes? But there are simple things. Simple things. Coding involve what if? If else, okay. I don't want to pretend that I know what I'm saying.
So for the basic coding, they have the if else block, for loop, and then just while loop also. So also they have the input sensor, output sensors. So all the things are working on the numbers. So if you connected any sensor, that gives the input or output in terms of number, and whatever you need output, that also you need to compare those numbers. So in that way you can, student can learn about the mathematics. And sir just mentioned about the kinematics, that is that contains the trigonometry, That is a sine cos theta. I think most of the teachers already done this.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much.
I think it's not. You have a question? Please come out to the front.
All right, thank you very much. So I quite remember when I was in tertiary, we did differentiation and calculus back in school. But calculus was a bit difficult, not a bit, it was very difficult. So I did electrical engineering. So my first year in school was very challenging because the math was so theoretical. So I quite remember we drew a box for a particular purpose. But before we could plot the coordinates on the graph, we had to do our integration and differentiation and stuff like that. So that was when I got to understand the mathematics. So if someone says that, how can we design a plane that could fly at a certain speed against gravity and then the force of the wind? It has to be proven mathematically to know it's feasible before you build it. And that is where automation comes in, because you should be able to now take these documented calculations and automate the process. Else, if you should manage to build one car for 6 months, you need another 6 months to build one more. So I think what we need to look at now is see how we can integrate this STEM into our regular curriculum. So if we teach a mathematics teacher how to use STEM, he or she should be able to look at the aspect of STEM that can practicalize the understanding. For instance, if teaching x squared minus y squared equals to something, these are variables. So how can you teach a student to use computers to program and automate something like this? Put in a value in the x and put a value in y, that should give me this. So if we do it this way, the science teacher could also look at components of the STEM that could aid him being able to make the science practical well to the student, so that the student wouldn't have to leave the classroom to a particular lab to have a separate, even though it's important, to have a separate experience in the lab, making the classroom work separate from the practicals. So it's like either you send a student to the ICT lab to go and play with the computers, or bring the computer lab to the classroom where they use it to learn. So they can use the computer to learn mathematics, use it to learn English, use it to learn science, social studies, right in the classroom. So if you turn the equation upside down, the student going to the lab is not going to the lab because the computer is a special device that must not be touched. That is why today, we train a lot of people, and you see graduates who come in, and for them to even on the computer, their hands are shaking. They are so scared, just because back in school for so many years, you've taught to treat the computer as some special, something. You get the concept. So if we could, for all those who are from the Volta region, we are trying to establish the Volta STEM network where we are able to bring all the technocrats together. Because if we are able to bring our heads together and find creative ways to help our children to learn, it can be a model that can be exported to other parts of the country. You get the concept. So the science education, special area that needs special training, we need to equally find a way to integrate it into the regular education system. So if a school buys one of the Codabot equipment, he or she should be able to, at a point in his or her study, bring the apparatus to the classroom to help the kids practically see the essence of what they are studying, in the books. And I think that will be very, very helpful to making it more of a school base than just a club base. Then also, it is very important that we don't forget that if a lion leads a flock of sheep, the sheep can behave like a lion, right? And if a sheep should lead, lions, they can start behaving like sheep. So in as much as we are trying to make most of the things general, we shouldn't forget that we may end up of average people. You know, we need the leaders, people who can actually stand in to lead the others. It is very, very important. Anywhere things are working, they ask for who the leader is. Anywhere things are not working, they still ask for who the leader is, right? So in as much as we are trying to make the STEM education something general, we should be able to pinpoint those special kids that have the special interest. And then the calling, I'll say, to pursue it, because it becomes natural for them to excel than to force other kids who are not really interested in the practical aspect. They may learn it to build their mind as to how they can solve problems. And even in doing that, we need to let them know what the STEM education is and how it applies to any aspect of their lives, as opposed to making him or her become a software developer or an engineer. Thank you.
That's a really, really great contribution from Desmond. I'm really happy that Desmond and I got to meet a couple of days ago to interact. He's someone who is also in this space trying to popularize STEM education. So it's great to hear his input. Just something to add to what he said, right, about how to make practical some of the theoretical concepts that we teach at schools. We've had, I remember having this discussion with Cage before. He had this framework that he wanted to use for us to change content of materials, right? So if you think of, for instance, those who do biology, let's say human anatomy, for instance, at the labs we have dummies, right? We have parts of the body and all of that. Actually, in the VR world, virtual reality world, you could basically study the entire human body, take an organ, dissect it in the virtual world, and it would seem as if this were real. You can identify basically every single component of an organ, right? This is how fascinating technology is. So this is close to reality. That's kind of why we call it virtual reality. So if you're not getting the real thing as well, you could, in a VR world, practically do this. Okay? So there are myriad of applications or things that you can do. And if it's not practical, there's no hardware, in a VR world, get you close to reality, makes you feel, literally you see people with VR glasses playing games, and then all of a sudden they start shouting, right? They become emotional. Why? Because they think this is almost reality. Yeah. Some people start cursing and so on and so forth, right? So this would be really one huge way to apply, right? This technology that we are referring to make things practical. Thank you again, Desmond, for that kind of discussion and suggestion. Yeah. Any more question?
One more thing is this. I think STEM is based on computational thinking, right? To think logically, critically, and that kind of thing. I believe, like what Desmond has pointed out, it's not about us trying to be a mathematician or be a software engineer or whatever, but to learn to think critically so that when we are faced with a problem, we will know the systematic approach to sorting out the problem, isn't it? Right? Simplifying things, right? Seeing a very complicated issue and simplifying it in a systematic way. That's one way, I think. So when you set up a STEM-based learning, say for example an international baccalaureate, an IB school, they are mostly their PYP, MYP programs are mostly more towards asking the student to solve a problem critically, even conceptually, with no hardware involved. They are not strong in robotic, but they are very strong in thinking out of the box. Yeah, they think through and try to solve the problem. But for me, one of our program is Compost. In a Compost, we try to link biology with STEM. So in the biology, we even ask the student, if I were to make this worm glow, and then there's another group of worms that doesn't glow. All right, let's study the composting rate of the worms that are glowing and the worms that are not glowing. Let's think about how fast they can chew up the stuff and make it into compost, right? So by studying these things, and how does making a worm glow causes impact its growth. So this is biology. But from STEM point of view, you know, worms hide under the soil. So if you want to study compost, how interesting it is when you cannot see the worm. So we make it glow, and we have different levels of boxes where the worm will climb up from one box to another box, and by putting in night vision camera, we can actually see that worm, all right, moving. And that is interesting for students. You understand what I'm trying to say? So these are things that we integrate between biology and STEM. Yeah? Okay? Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Cage, for pointing that out. So, as I was speaking, I just quickly thought of a potential solution to a problem we're having here in Ghana. Actually, STEM can address, which is DOMSOL, power outage. So it happens a lot, right? Sometimes it's scheduled, sometimes it's unannounced. This happens a lot. I was discussing with Cage, and he thought about this basically framework we could use, and that we could partner with schools. Say, for instance, students, you train the student to actually build solar panels, right? And then whatever energy is produced, that energy could be sold to the government. Okay, so that could contribute to the power grid. So imagine getting a cluster of schools that build the solar panel, training the student, but the students are involved in building the solar panels. You're not just buying and giving it to them. They're involved in building it. That's great creativity right there. They're also solving problem because the very thing that affects them when they get back home. When there's DOMSOL, they cannot study, right? They are part of the problem solving process. So I think this is clever. There are actually a lot of things you can do with STEM, and there are a lot of applications. We'll be kind of intrigued to hear some problems that you can think of and how we can leverage science and technology. It's all about research. You do research into problems and you try to see how you can leverage technology to solve the problem. Yeah. Okay. I'll let you decide. Okay.
My question is just to hit on what you just said about problem solving. We are going back to our schools to meet our parents, and we have laymen parents, and we want to introduce STEM to this parent that this is what we want to do. So I want to briefly, if you can just state, layperson, how STEM is going to help the Ghanaian child now or in the future. If the child is to study STEM now, what are the basic benefits the child can derive from it?
Okay. That's a great question. Great question. There are a lot of examples I can give. I'm just going to touch on one because agriculture is important to Ghana's economy. Okay? So if you go to rural areas, agriculture is often placed the thing that people engage in, right? So a student whose parent is a farmer, right? Either of the parents are into farming. They have traditional ways of growing their crops, okay? So the student basically takes the Code course, right? We have some courses we're offering now, which is basically IoT farming, kind of smart farming, which basically leverages a bunch of tech to check the moisture of the soil and so on and so forth. And so this kid then introduces the mom or the dad, who is a farmer, to this technology and say, hey, you know, I can actually increase your crop yield by leveraging this technology. Applications of AI can actually detect whether you have the right moisture in the soil, okay, and even to necessitate irrigation arrangements to get basically water to the plant, right? This is one example I can give, right? There are just endless possibilities to what you can do. So this is one example I can give. A layperson who is into farming, this is one thing you can do. If it's about task, we are all talking about AI right now. Right? Robots are being built to handle kind of mundane, routine tasks, right? How many of you have heard of Elon Musk? So he's a world richest guy, right? Now, this guy basically has right now, as part of his company, Tesla, they're actually building a robot, okay? And this robot is supposed to be a very clever one, and this robot can be customized to solve problems. So if you want to fry egg, you're lazy, you don't want to get up, you want to fry the egg, right? The robot can do that for you. Can you imagine a robot frying egg for you? Fascinating. There's just too many things, right, that you can think of that robots can address, and AI can as a tool can be used to solve. Yeah, so I'll probably just leave it at that. Happy to respond to any other questions here. You had we have a question at the back. I think we have multiple microphones. Sure. Just pass it.
All right. My question is Codabot Ghana having support from the government? If yes or no, what are you doing to sustain it in Ghana?
The unfortunate answer is no. Right? No support from the government. So these are basically a group of private investors who have passion. They want to see impact in the lives of the average African kid, and they're pulling resources together. Okay, so we are trying to make the difference the way we can with the limited amount of resources we have. But that is not to say that we do not want to welcome government partnership. Okay, so as the minister and myself in there were kind of like whispering, and it was like potentially think of how we could partner and work on something. So that will be a discussion we'll have down the line. And then he asked, how are we sustaining? So again, it's just basically private investors, and I'm doing a lot of the heavy lifting myself because I'm the majority shareholder, right? So constantly we need to invest in new hardware to basically keep the schools that we are working with happy, because they need to see new things, right? And if I don't get investors, I need to basically invest myself, right? And so that's a lot of drain on resource. And I see it as a kind of like a long-term impact that you're making. So short-term gain for long-term reward, kind of that way, yeah. It would be great if you can alleviate some of the burdens by trying to buy the hardware. This would be a huge help, because a lot of the money we use to sponsor what we do is towards, yeah.
Thank you very much.
Hello.
Good afternoon. And
Good afternoon. We are talking about the Ghanaian child. You know, when it comes to Ghana, we have both the private schools and the public school. Number one, when you get to the public school, the private school, those in the deprived area, not all of them can afford. We want to know the measures that Codabot will put in place. And number two, to the public schools, not all parents can afford. We have a phrase called everything is free in the public sector. So now, how are you going to adjust to this system so that the Ghanaian child that we are talking about, the next 5-10 years coming, we don't want to see the private school progressing, but we want to see them, the two of them emerging here together. And number three, within the deprived areas too, you talk about agriculture using AI. How will it be possible? You see, because we started this program in the city. It's a gradual distance. How will you meet the target? Thank you.
Let me respond to that. Mainly because I think probably I may have given some cues about what we were doing, right, to try to reach the rural areas across the country. So when it comes to deprived areas, private school, whether it's private school or public schools, I mentioned that we are trying to work with a local NGO to try to secure some grants, okay, from large corporate. And large companies have a corporate social responsibility wing, CSR. They want to be known for kind of contributing to the environment, you know, being socially friendly and so on and so forth. They allocate huge budgets for activities like that. So what we can do as a company, of course we're still working on that, is we are putting together a proposal to try to target certain deprived communities across the country, obtain funding, so that we can then use the funding to render service and train children in these deprived communities. So whether they be private school children or public school children, doesn't matter. Right? You go to a deprived community, if you make it community-based, not school-based, community-based, you have funding, you have a mobile kind of STEM lab, for instance. Like you have a van equipped with STEM activities. You go to communities and organize, training to all of this in a village, for instance. So that's kind of what we are doing currently. And we are really, really trying our best to see this through. Okay.
Please, humbly, if you have a question, come forward because of the cameras. Thank you.
All right. Good afternoon. My name is June. I'm a French ICT teacher. So as an individual, I wanted to know if I want to learn or have any knowledge about Codabots, or I don't know, I want to be part of the team. How do I do it? How do I go about it? Not a transition, actually, like a personal knowledge for myself or maybe for my school as well. Yeah, so how do I do about it? That's my question.
Yeah, please, from the technical team and the cameraman, let us fill the empty seats. It is not making our coverage nice at all. So if we can humbly do that, it would serve us better. Thank you so much that you are going to do it.
I'll answer it.
Yeah, yes, your questions. I know the food is, in fact, making us relax a bit, but you, humbly, let's fill the seat for us. God bless you. You know, robotics and everything, it goes with good arrangement. If you don't arrange it well, you'll not get it well. God bless you. There are so many seats here. Please come. Come. Great. At least if we see your face in the annals, there's a historic event. And if you see your face in the annals, it will be good. So come and fill the seat for us. Please. There are seats here also. Please, brother, listen. Please kindly do us the honors. Yeah, my brother.
Okay. Thank you. You made mention that the teachers, so our teachers, we will not be involved in your trainers will come to school to train ones. How then will the school benefit from all of this arrangement? Because this is clearly a business. Thank you.
I'm going to start with the last question. So not training the teachers. I think let me just clarify. The point I was trying to make is we propose to the schools, okay? We have two models. Either you offer as your teachers, we train the teachers to then train the students. So that this is basically something we negotiate or we discuss with school owners, and they finally decide what they want. We don't impose anything on them. Okay, so that's the point I wanted to make. If they say yes, train our teachers, we do that. If they say no, we do not. So it's something that's decided by the heads of the school and those who are in the position to make a decision. And then as to the question of say someone who is basically not endowed with tech or STEM and wants to acquire knowledge, right, for self-benefit. We've done that in the past before, where we've had like mature persons, not students. Literally, people are working at I'm fascinated with, STEM, and I want to know. And we did that. We literally crafted courses that we think we fit for them, and we trained them. So it was a one-on-one tutorial. That happens as well. Yeah. So if you're interested, I'd be happy to talk to you to see kind of your needs, what fascinates you, and be able to craft something around that. Yeah. I think we have to come.
In the morning when the minister came, just to fellow school owners and then school administrators, we realized that the schools that the government is building for Ghanaians in terms of STEM, when I saw the video, I was like, wow, this is a government school with all these facilities. So if we as private sector we are not able to embrace some of these things, it worries. Why am I saying this? When I did the calculation, when Doc gave, I think it will cost us around 250 cedis per child. So I'm begging Doc that if it's possible, the larger the number, it increases your profits. But when the number is few and the amount is high, it might also reduce the profit that you want. The government has a mind that they want citizens to both feel okay in terms of their pockets. They also want to do things that will make the pocket of citizens so okay. But we are in the private to have any funding anywhere. It's our own loans and power part that we do in order to get a school running. And these days we are losing children. Seriously. They go to basic 6, JHS, PAM, they go away. With certain policies government have made in the education sector these days. So we also want to compete with the government. We want to ensure that if they can give A, B, C, D to the children in the public sector, we to the private can also do the same thing. But I always say, because of the money, financial aspect of it, the tree says it's so tough. From where the parents are even struggling to pay school fees. If you want to increase school fees by a CD, wahala. So we want to beg of you. You can go back. We would like to join, but look at the cost and look at where I'm coming from. My parents and my students. Probably I might not get a lot of children signing on, but the cost look at it a bit. Maybe I'll get a greater number of students coming on board, and then we take it from there. Right. Well, I'm talking according to my pockets. Maybe others may be able to afford it, but maybe when I come to the office and meet you, you can look at all that for us. Thank you very much.
Okay, I think the point is made. So we'll look at individual circumstances and have discussions with you, see if there's any possibility. So that can always be discussed.
All right, so maybe you join in late and you couldn't get the form to sign up. Or if you also picked a form and you have not submitted it, and do so. And if you want to engage the team one-on-one, you are free to do so also. Because gradually we will be wrapping up. So, yeah.
My name is Constantine K. Akakbo. Actually, my question is for the minister, but unfortunately it's not here. Yeah, you know, this morning when he was talking, I was just looking at him. He was talking about public schools, and we are private schools. So do you see? And then he's talking about how he's building private schools, STEM. Last year, when we were selecting school for students, this STEM thing came. Now I was asking myself, where from this one too? You see, but Doc, we are very grateful to you for bringing this to our doorpost. Because as for the government, he's thinking about public schools. He's not thinking about us. But then, private schools in Ghana, we are helping this nation. So we are very grateful to you for coming to us, for us to partner and help Ghanaian children. So, like my last speaker said, the cost, it is raining but the ground is still hard, so that we can come on board and help Ghanaian schools. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. I would like to, you know, for me, I travel 20 hours, come here, because I'm so excited to meet with you all, because it is really an opportunity. And as the day draws to an end, before it is, I would like to discuss with you all what is the next step that we can do. Now, I understand that in any situation, whether it's in Ghana or it's in Hong Kong or it's in anywhere, there will always be a spectrum. There will be people, because price is always relative. Yes?
Sure.
Yeah, you ask a Filipino in Filipina, in Hong Kong they are paid 550 US dollars. But in Philippines, 550 US dollar is high salary. But in Hong Kong, that is a minimum. Yes? I always tell my wife that, look, we have to respect them because they are heroes of their country and they are well respected because they are middle income earners when it comes to Philippines. So, in that note, I would like to suggest there will be, the gentleman brother here says $15 is a lot. There are some who says, well, I don't mind paying more, right? I used to be on a board of an international Christian school in Hong Kong for 10 years. We built the school from ground level, right? We have no money, and the government gave us 100 million and gave us a piece of land for 10 years, but with one caveat. We need to find the money first before we can touch their money, which we almost lost it because we couldn't find the money, right? But the point is this, right? Eventually, yes, we have to come to a understanding, right? I hope. I mean, today is such a wonderful opportunity to meet all of you. Yes, and I believe I echo Albert that we believe us that we bring our heart to the table. Now, bear in mind, like the sister here, Patricia, said, how do you sustain yourself? She asked twice. Thank you so much. We are not a government body, we are a privately owned company. But we are willing to work with everybody. We are willing to work with everybody, and we want to see how we can work with each other, right? Whether it must be a win-win situation. At times, price come with a cost. Okay, I'm an international Christian school, so it was started by missionaries who couldn't afford to go to international school for their children. They cannot afford. That's why we started the school in 1990. And the school motto says affordability. Now, affordability is relative again. Yes, as the school grows and as we build the school with a 60 million US dollars fund, and as more and more affluent students and parents come into the school, affordability becomes a problem. Right? And I have on my board some people who are champion of the poor. So to them, affordability is very important. But there are some who say, no, we have to compromise affordability against quality. Yes? For us, we try not to. I mean, $25, right? We do not want to compromise our quality. So I'm happy if let's say we can actually come to something, not to ask everyone to give an idea, but you have his number, you have his email. If you don't have before you leave, we will give you our email. Talk to us. Tell us what can be done. What we need to do. What we need to do to partner with you. Okay, sometimes if it is not affordable, it could be free. He will go bankrupt, but it will be free. But sometimes, right, you have to work with us. Maybe we train you so that you can train your people. But then at times, you let us pull out some courses from your students. Yes? On an average, we are all happy. At the end of the day, as I mentioned just now, STEM doesn't even need to be a hardware base. It's all about computational thinking. It's about critical thinking. Yes? So I'm happy if there are some of you who is willing to meet up with Albert, right? And discuss ways in which we can partner. Let's not waste, right? God has brought us together. We have come together. Some of you do not know why you are here. Some of you are curious to know and try to implement something into your school, right? Yes, I'm sure. Otherwise, you won't be here, right? You really want to implement something. You really want to implement STEM, but it's costly to you. But it also comes with a cost with us. Yes? So let's see how we can work together. Over a period of time, we can build something. Is that okay? Yeah?
I think he's said it all. I don't need to buttress the point. So I know a lot of us I can see people are tired. And probably this is probably a good point to allow you to kind of like take a tour. Some of you have already gone to the booth area. And we have some students playing games around. If you've not done that, you can take a look. We'll be here. So if you need us. Okay. They can write to me. Okay. So I'm gonna give you an email, and then you can write to me directly, and we'll respond appropriately. So maybe I'll get the media guys to just type the email out. Okay. So that's admin. ADMIN. Oh, they're typing it already. Oh, you asked them to type it up. Okay, okay, perfect. So they're going to type the email address out. Yeah. You can admin at Colabos, right? Admin at Colabos. They know. Okay. Let me make sure they have the right one. Yeah. All right. Yeah, you have the right one, right? Admin at Colabos. Yeah, to project the email address. Admin at Colabos DH. Colabos DH.com. Yeah, we can have the contact number. The phone number is also on the yeah, the one on the banner. Okay, I can that's 059 814 1047. No, admin with an N. Administration. Admin. Yes. CodaboutGH.com. Yes. 059 814 1047. Yeah, so that's the office number. Yeah. I think that'll be.
Yeah, so please, if you have your forms ready, you can humbly push it to me. If you have not submitted your forms, yeah, you can let me have it. Thank you. Yes, anyone? Forms? So very soon we will be closing. Thank you so much for your time. I will this opportunity to the Minister of Education and also his entourage that he came with. The Vice Chancellor for Pentecost University also, we want to thank him so much for honoring our invitation. And you and your team and your school, thank you so much for even coming. And also we hope that you are going to sign up with Kodabot GH. And we are going to partner you, and we are going to transform our nation. Remember, the theme that we have been dealing with throughout the day is leveraging STEM for problem solving. Even as you move out of here, we have, for me, I'm picking two things. That STEM is not only about engineering, but it is also about critical thinking. How best we can use our brains to solve problems. Then put it on through the hardware and various softwares to come out with solutions to life-threatening challenges that we are facing in our country. So thank you so much for coming, and we are really happy you were with us. Thank you so much. If you have any question, the leaders are around. The leaders are around, and they will be glad to assist you. Any question at all. We want to take a group photograph. Humbly, if the team will permit, then we want to pray before we take the photograph. Shall we humbly be on our feet? When we close also, you can still go and look at the things and maybe any question that you may want to ask. Shall we bow down our heads? Our most gracious and everlasting Father, we thank you in the name of Jesus. We thank you for a successful conference. We thank you for, oh God, giving us that foresight to look into the future and know what you, Lord, you want to do. We pray in the name of Jesus. Plunge us into your action and the things that you, Lord, you want to do in our nation, especially with regards to STEM and how best we can leverage on STEM to solve the challenges and the problems in our country. We commit Kodabot International, Global, and also Kodabot GH into your hands, that you, Lord, will cause us to become a formidable team where the nations and also many people through Kodabot will solve their problems. We pray, oh God, as we depart from here, we are not departing from your presence. Carry us on eagle's wings as you brought us. Send us back safely. Your word says you watch over our going out and our coming in, and you keep us blameless. May your word come to pass in our life. We commit all our students into your hands, that, oh God, bless them with wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, retentive memory, so that whatever they will be taught, they can comprehend and also work with it to solve all our problems for us. We thank you for hearing and answering us in Jesus' name. Amen. And so we want to take a group photograph. I don't know how we all right, so let's all fill the empty spaces because they are going to take it from here. We are sitting down. Yeah. So let's fill the empty spaces, please. Humbly. Those of you at the back, let's come forward and fill the empty spaces. Yeah, you come forward where you are. Yeah, come and sit. Yeah, so after the main photograph, the association from who, their leadership will also take photograph with the Kodabot team. Yeah, so you kindly take note of that. Thank you. So the association, the leadership can come forward so that they take a photograph. Safe journey. God bless you so much. The leadership from who? Can you humbly come around? Okay. All right, so you can come. The leadership, please, you can come around. Yeah, this way.
That's how it is. Smart home. Turn it like this. You can see the gate. You can use a card to open the gate or a switch. You turn it on. Then it's that's what the most of the hotels are now doing. Yes, yes. So when you open with your card, you enter. Yes. Your light comes on. Your plate comes on. It's fun. Yes. So we teach the children how to build a smart home using this electrical equipment. So they know how the idea works. So maybe sometimes they can enter a hotel and use a card and they know. Because they've done it before, they know how the process works. Then they figure it out, yes. And this is after you have right, they're not the place if this can be the
If I want to zoom in.
No, it's hard though, it's hard. Taking the camera